Hey everybody, I'm Tara from Crooked Row. I came out to the greenhouse and I was getting ready to do some of my seed starting because it's that time of year. And I wanted to make a quick video of 5 things that will help you not only germinate but grow better seeds. So I kind of just want to give you the 5 kind of rules that I have for seed starting, because we have very successful seed starting indoors and outdoors, but you know, indoors are the ones that are so reliant on you. So I think that there are definitely 5 things that you have to remember and do in order to have very successful seed starting. So I just want to share those with you really quick. Okay, so the number 1 suggestion that I can give to you is to have even heating wherever it is that you are actually going to start your seeds. So one of the reasons why I don't start my seeds here in this greenhouse, my seedlings will eventually make it out here, but I start them all in the house, is because you have to have good even temperature, and the more warm your seedlings are, the better. So I, without knowing it, did a test on this, and one year, so our seedlings are also in our furnace room, and so the year that our furnace was like up and going and roaring in there, our seedlings germinated, or our seeds germinated super fast, and they were thriving. It was so hot in that furnace room. And then we had a year where we didn't use our furnace at all. We just used our wood. So that furnace room was first unheated altogether, and we had terrible germination rates. And the seedlings that did survive, I didn't care for their strength. And then you have this year, which our furnace actually blew, so no furnace this year in that room. So I did some supplemental heat and keep it just a good, 75 degrees. So at 75 degrees, it was really good. You could pop it all the way up to 90, but you're gonna wanna be careful because like I use heating mats, but I use them very carefully. Once all my seeds have germinated, I will put the heating mat under the row that I'm actually doing seeds, just so some heat can keep going up, but they're not directly on that mat. And that's, again, just to keep a nice warm temperature. And then I put in my little space heater to kind of keep the room itself, so that the actual, the green part that's coming up also is good. And remember, these are cold weather crops, so they don't have to be, if we were talking about tomatoes, those have to be around like 80 degrees. But cold weather crops don't. But while they're growing as little seedlings, you don't want them stressed in any way, which kind of leads me to my next point. So tip number 2 is to have not to have watering, of course you're gonna water, but to watch your seeds so that you know how to water. So watering is kind of finicky. I know people are like, oh, you have to water, every 3 days, you have to do this, but there are too many variables at play. So it depends on the humidity of your grow room. It depends on how hot are you letting it get in there. So the best test that you can do is, one, if it's brown on top, like you kind of nudge the seedling and it's brown on top, because sometimes it will be dry underneath but look brown on top, but you kind of, with your finger, you just kind of rub the surface, clearly not where your seedling is, and see if it's dry. You can also pull them up out of the tray and and look through the holes in the bottom of the tray to see if there's moisture in it. If there isn't, your seeds need watered. And so what I do is I take, if this was full, I take this out and I go to the tray, my dirty tray, and I fill it up. On a lot of my trays, there's like a little line right here, but I fill it up and then I put my plants back in it and I set it down. And after I do that to all the trays, I set a timer for 30 minutes. And then I come back, and if there's any water down in the basin of these, then I pour it out. And you can try to, you know, just take a paper towel and dry it the best you can, because we're wanting to give the plants water, but we're also trying to reduce our chances of mold, mildew, and fungus gnats. Fungus gnats are such a little pest in your grow room. And I know they even have like little sticky traps that you can put down in your seedling trays for when you do get them. We got them, I believe last year, but I had never had them before, so that was a first for me. But this actually helps reduce that. And I also have a video that we'll post down below, what to do if you start to see like mold and mildew in the cells in your tray. We'll post that down below. But it's a great little hack that has worked for us. So some people put vermiculite on top of their seed starting. That actually helps hold moisture in. If your problem is too much, really, because mold and mildew is from an excessive amount of water and heat. So, and you don't need an excessive amount of water, but you still need water and heat. So the point is that you need to be checking your plants. And I know that could be so hard for some people to get in the swing of doing that, but if you could like set an alarm on your phone, maybe you're going to check them real quick before you go to work. If you have the kind of system that I have, where it has like the wicking mats that will keep water on them, I'm not using them yet because my seedlings are too small, and I feel like it promotes mold for me. So I wait until they're a little bit bigger and then I utilize that. But so proper watering your seedlings is absolutely essential. Like you must have proper watering. And so nothing does better than feeling it. So number 3 is my high suggestion is after your seeds have germinated, I would definitely take them off a heating mat. It's not going to kill them, but it will dry them out substantially. So if you decide that you need that supplemental heat because maybe you're doing this in your garage or an unheated space like we are, and again, what I do, and I think I mentioned this earlier, is I go ahead and I take the heating mat from underneath of where it has direct contact with my seedlings, and I put it below it because heat rises. So that little bit of heat will still keep going up to them, but not be right up against them, so that it's drying you out. If you do decide that you do need those heating mats for that supplemental heat, then I highly suggest that you check your seeds once a day, maybe even twice a day, to see how dry they are. Because seedlings are so tender that they tend to just dry that soil out and become rock hard, and that will just pinch off any growth that you have, and most often it will kill them. So let's be on the safe side, and if you don't have to have it for a heat source, take the heating mats out. So tip number 4 is about grow lights. So I don't buy grow lights because they're too expensive, and while they are super important, I bought this 4-foot shop light at Rural King, and I have another set of these in there. They work wonderfully. They're light, so I love that. They're super easy to work with once I have them like inside of where I grow. They are, I don't know if you can see this or not, they are 6,000 lumens. So that on the scale, is, you know, daylight is from about 6,000 to 10,000. So I could have gotten a 10,000 K light, but I decided not to. And actually it looks like 5,000 and above is what daylight is. But so I love these lights because they're light, easy to work with. When I have to lower or higher them, I don't have that little pulley system yet, but I just have them on the little chains and hooks. But it's so light, it's just super easy, and you just unhook them and hook them back and do them according to where they need to be. But it's so important for these because, so first is the actual light itself. But then tip 5, I'm gonna mix 4 and 5 together, is, are your seedlings close enough to the light? Now, when you're dealing with something that's powerful, it may not have to be right up on the light. But if you see that your seedlings, I mean, you can see within like a day or two, are they starting to stretch and get what's called leggy? If they get to a certain legginess, there's not a whole lot you can do unless it's tomatoes, because tomatoes will grow along that stem. They'll grow roots along their stem. But with these lights, I keep them about that far, which is what, 3 inches above the seedling tray. And it works perfect. I don't have leggy seedlings and they're getting adequate light. The other thing I wanted to mention about adequate light, so again, this is 4 and 5, but they kind of need to blend together, is that how many hours do you have these on? Now, I always try to do 16, but sometimes, you know, someone forgets to go and turn them off, so they'll be on all night. Sometimes someone forgets to turn them on in the day, and then they get turned on late. So to prevent this, we have purchased a timer, and it's just a timer that's for the outlet. And I have a power strip on my lights, and so I am essentially plugging it into the timer. I did have a digital timer, but it didn't work very well, and so I sent that back. So I'm actually supposed to be receiving today a manual timer, because this is not fluctuating or anything like that. I just want a good 16 hours on, 8 hours off. So it is very vitally important that they get definitely 12 hours, but 16 seems to work the best. And then 8 hours off and in darkness, because I feel like, just like us, they need a rest. If they have those things, if they have those 5 things, then there should be no reason. Well, actually, I want to throw this in too. Let's assume all of these rules will work perfect for you, because they do for us, as long as you have good viable seed. Now, I keep my seed a really long time. They say that 3 years is usually the marker for a lot. If you're using pelleted seed, it can only be used for 1 year. The pelleting process breaks that seed down, I guess. So you really only want to use pelleted seeds for 1 year. But if they're non-pelleted seeds, there's seeds that have been started after 80 years. I mean, M.I. Gardner, I love M.I. Gardner. He does so many little trials and things in his garden, and we have such similar growing conditions. But he had started, I think it was a tomato seed that had been around for 80 years. 80 years. And so they have found things in pharaoh's tombs that have sprouted. Some emmer wheat sprouted after being in, and that's thousands of years. So if you have seed that you're not sure if it's going to germinate, not only would I mark that tray that it has, it's an older seed, but if you're looking at a low germination rate, and really the only reason why you can blame it, if you follow these steps and you still have low germination, then I would think that it's your seed. So I try to start with fresh seed if I can. If it's low germination, if it's old seed, then I will overseed each little cell to make sure that at least one of them pops up. So, okay, so I'm actually gonna give you a bonus tip because as I thought about it, I wanted to kind of include this in as well. So, your seed starting mix. I just use Jiffy. They're all about the same. They kind of look the same. I have fantastic luck. It's nice, light, fluffy. It holds enough water. It drains well enough. In all seed starting formula, it all should look about the same. But here's my tip. You can either put it through like a sieve, a homemade sieve. I mean, it will have to be large enough to let your actual soil through. I just go through and pick out any large pieces that might be in it because you don't want anything to stunt the roots that your seedlings are starting to put out, because if they have to work around anything, that's going to turn out poorly for your seedlings. They're having to work around things instead of just growing. So you want to make their job as easy as possible. Those are my 5 suggestions and my 1 bonus suggestion. And this will make you very successful. And I really want this year to be super successful. So let's all have the best gardening year ever. I just know that this year is going to be great, and we already have a growing room that is busting with life and plants, and I hope yours is too. So remember, if we can follow the 5 tips and tricks for successful seed starting, anybody can. Thanks.